Good morning, everyone. This is Mitch. Hope you all are enjoying your Sunday so far and having a great weekend. I got you an update on what is going on with this long duration storm event that's going to be impacting us all the way from Monday through maybe even Saturday morning of this coming weekend. I'm talking about not this weekend, but next weekend. This is going to be severe weather, winter weather, flooding, and it's going to impact several states. In fact, almost the entire eastern U.S., central to eastern U.S. It's going to impact somehow. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to break this down and get as specific as we can at this range and really try to alert some people here. I want to remind you, this is going to be some longer videos coming up over the next 24 to 72 hours because there is a lot to break down. So guys, please feel free to skip until you talk about your specific location. You know, it's not going to bother me one bit. I don't blame you. But we're going to break down the severe weather part of this first, and then we're going to talk about the winter weather side of this also. And we're going to compare and contrast some model guides and try to figure out what's going to go on with this. So if you guys have not subscribed, please consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. Social media links are over here. I'm very active on Twitter, very active on Facebook. Try to do multiple updates a day to try to keep y'all updated when I'm not on YouTube. And if you guys got anything I can pray about, please put it in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over them, gives others an opportunity to do so too. So definitely take advantage of that. We can all look out for one another there and glorify God also. So what we're going to do, we're going to mention here the current hazards, winter storm watches in this shade of blue right in here. This is going to be like a three-part storm just on the winter weather side. So you're going to have this Arctic boundary that sags south, a wave of frozen precipitation up here, and then it sags even more south, then another wave, and then another wave. And that's what we're going to be breaking down in this video along with the severe weather threat. So blizzard warnings up for a few counties in Minnesota and North Dakota. That's, not anything super unusual up in that way, but be careful up in that way this morning and then over today and then tonight. And then we have the chances of a 1/4 inch of liquid equivalent to snow and sleet. Look at this and just think about it as the chance of a winter storm occurring. The light green is that 10 to 30% chance. Oklahoma City, you're in this for Wednesday, really just Wednesday during the day until Wednesday night. And then you have the dark green, which is including areas northeast of Oklahoma City, not quite into St. Louis, but areas of kind of south central Missouri, if you will. And that is a 30 to 50% chance of this threshold right down here. This is for Wednesday. Then we move into our Friday, and then the winter weather threat increases for areas further northeast and even into the interior northeast. And this includes St. Louis, Indianapolis, Columbus, Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, Detroit, Chicago. That is that 30 to 50% chance that you could probably reach winter storm criteria type winter weather. And then you have this area in the interior areas of the northeast and northern areas of the mid-Atlantic, if you will, where there's a 50 to 70% chance of appreciable winter weather occurring. And then we get into our Saturday, and then this really increases for the northeast. So winter weather looking likely to happen. Then the severe weather part of this, there is a slight risk in this range. This is for day 2. This is really for tomorrow afternoon into overnight tomorrow into Tuesday morning. And there's a slight risk up. This includes Dallas, Little Rock, Memphis, Tennessee. And then there is a chance for a tornado, a 5% risk here hatched for even Memphis, Little Rock, not including Dallas, you're on that 2% range, and this is a 5% chance of a tornado at 25 miles at any given location. So be weather aware in this region tomorrow, especially late tomorrow. We're getting into your Tuesday. There is a risk for severe weather also. The details on this are a little bit fuzzy, but there is a slight risk already introduced, and this includes Jackson, Mississippi, still includes Memphis, and everybody in between of those cities I just mentioned. So there is going to be severe weather to this. So let's briefly go on and mention what we do know. And what we do know is we're in the range of Nanam. So what's going to happen here is you got the warm air advection that kind of flows into the deep south, the higher dew points. We'll dive a little bit deeper into the severe weather tonight, but the dew points reach the 60s all the way up, well up into Arkansas. You get this low-level jet that's around 40 to 50 knots, so you have a little spin to the atmosphere. The kinematics are there somewhat for a little bit of a tornado threat, a low range kind of tornado threat here. But this is really getting into as early as you can have it around tomorrow afternoon, some showers and storms firing up over here in Tennessee, northern Mississippi, and Alabama. But I don't think those will be much in the way of severe. But really what we have to watch is overnight. Here's some storms exploding here in areas of Oklahoma, maybe North Texas also. And then we have to watch and see what they do as they get into a better environment for the kinematics part of this, and then see what happens. The cold front's right into here. I think you will have some steep lapse rates in place, which is what we talk about when how fast can it cool the higher up you get in the atmosphere. When you have a lot of cold air aloft, you normally have a big time hail threat. Now, whether you're going to have baseball size hail, I don't think so, but you can have definitely some hail with these storms as we're getting late tomorrow night into Tuesday morning, really. So we have to watch these storms here. We compare it with the HRRR model, which only goes out to 48 hours, and it kind of shows the same thing. Storm coverage around the same areas. These could produce a quick tornado, and this is for around 1 a.m. Tuesday morning. So I think this is going to be an overnight threat for this area. We look at the NAM for a little further east and try to take a look at that event for Tuesday, and we're just not quite in range to see what's going to happen here. But I will tell you, we get all the way out until about 1 p.m. Tuesday, and there's not much in the way of storm coverage, but it's only 1 p.m. It's just when that daytime heating is getting cranked up. So we're going to switch to the winter weather part of this now, and this is going to take up the rest of the video because there's a lot to discuss here. What we're going to do is we're going to show the European, and then we're going to show the GFS for each specific region and compare and contrast and talk about what, as far as snowfall accumulation and ice totals, each model is showing. And then at the very end, I want to compare and contrast certain area time frames of this storm and how much different they are from the GFS and the Euro. I feel like that's different, and I feel like both models in general are trending towards one another, and I'll talk about what I mean there here in a second. But I'm going to freeze it here. This is really when the event is really cranking up for the south central U.S. like Texas. I think you could start off as some freezing rain for sure in Dallas, Texas, but I really think just maybe 50 to 100 miles north of Dallas is going to get into some potential for some nasty freezing rain. But this is for Wednesday afternoon. Take a look. If you're confused about what time frame we're at, this is for Wednesday 18Z. That's around lunchtime, around 1 p.m. y'all's time. So think of it like that. And I'll try to keep y'all as up to date while I'm talking in this video what time frame we're at. Please correct me. I try to get better with this, but there's so much to talk about in the middle of these videos that sometimes you just get to rolling, and I fail to mention the time frame efficiently. But this is for around Wednesday afternoon. Freezing rain breaking out into Oklahoma City. Oklahoma, this gets into the Ozarks. How cold does the air get into northern Arkansas? We're just not quite sure yet. Getting into Wednesday evening, freezing rain breaking out over portions. This is the European, by the way. Breaking out into Missouri. Looks like it starts out as all snow potentially for St. Louis as you're getting into late evening, overnight, Wednesday night into Thursday, but might switch to sleet and a freezing rain mix here. Quad States area, it's going to be close, but right now this first system looks to be all rain, but it's going to be close. Unless you're in southern Illinois where it could be a nasty icing event. How bad? Just not quite sure. I hate to keep saying that, but that moves through, that moves on out. Then another area of moisture develops as we're getting into Thursday morning. More freezing rain, maybe lighter. Not quite sure. And then we're getting into Missouri. More freezing rain spreads over the same areas. So it kind of reminds me of the system that had to happen about 2.5, 3 weeks ago where you had 2 rounds. The first round came through, then there was a little break, and then the second round came through. So it might be 2 waves of freezing rain for certain areas, and then it moves on out Thursday evening, and then we're kind of done with it. Watch this little area of the precipitation that tries to develop in Texas Friday afternoon. But, I mean, this is what I'm talking about. This starts as early as Wednesday as far as the winter weather side of this, and maybe last, in the next 48 hours. We compare this with the GFS. What does the GFS show for this range? Getting through here in time, starts out as rain. And then here we go. We're getting into, now this is late Wednesday evening, just a little bit of freezing rain and some sleet. Freezing rain into Dallas, really close, and then a band of sleet and freezing rain for southern Missouri, northern Arkansas. This moves through. This first little wave kind of fizzles out, but it continues for northern Arkansas. And the GFS has it really sneaking into areas like Tennessee. And then another wave forms, and this next wave is definitely all rain for Dallas, but Oklahoma City, as you're getting into Thursday morning this coming week, a mixture of freezing rain, sleet, and then it has frozen precipitation a little bit further south in the GFS. So for Thursday morning, you have all freezing rain breaking out over northern Arkansas and even the northwest corner of Tennessee. The Quad States region in general is seeing more in the way of ice. And then it turns into a nasty icing situation for northern Arkansas as we're getting into Thursday afternoon, and then more heavier snow. and deeper into Missouri as we're getting into central Missouri, and then just a wintry mess in southern Illinois, for example. But even areas into, and I'll take a closer look at this here in a second as we switch regions, but look at, Kentucky getting into that freezing rain, that northwest part of the state. But it continues. This moves on out. We're getting into late Thursday evening at this time frame and just all freezing rain. The potential for a nasty freezing rain event. So we look at snowfall totals in the European, and I really think there'll be an excess of maybe several inches of snow, even for areas like St. Louis. Y'all have been hit pretty decently over the last few weeks here in St. Louis, even Kansas City. Kansas City, y'all might just be just north of the heaviest frozen precipitation we'll have to see, but maybe a half inch to a dusting in Oklahoma City. But, the specifics are out the window at this rate, unfortunately, and they shouldn't be, but they really are. Freezing rain showing up on the Euro. Remember, cut these by about 50 or 60% at least. This is just accumulating freezing rain, so it's not really accounting for any melting, but it gives you an idea of that there is a big ice storm risk for northern Arkansas and then southern Missouri. There really is. And then even areas of southern Illinois, and then watch out Kentucky. This is the European. Now we look at the GFS, which can tend to overdo things just in general. But it gives you a good idea. If you were looking at the GFS as if it was going to happen, this would be a substantial snowstorm for areas of St. Louis, just north of St. Louis also. Not much in the way in Kansas City, and Oklahoma City does not get much in the way of anything with this. The GFS doesn't show much love as far as frozen precipitation in general as much as the European does for areas into Oklahoma and Texas. It really doesn't. You look at the freezing rain, though, and it's just, don't focus so much on totals right now. Focus on the axis of where it's showing the freezing rain. It's a little bit further south than the European in general. The GFS is much further south with frozen precipitation in general as far as the entire storm. And as we get deeper into the video, I'll show you what I mean with this. But nasty ice storms showing up for areas of the Quad States region on the GFS, where the European is mainly kind of ice and rain, but not quite there as far as an all-out ice storm. But this would be a substantial ice storm, another one. It's hard to compare it to the one that happened a few weeks ago, but it's there. There's a signal there for some nasty ice. Northern Arkansas, nasty ice. Southeast Missouri, some disruptive ice. So we'll have to see. Remember, cut these totals. It's hard to take an inch of ice serious. It really is. So definitely cut them by at least 60, 50, 60, maybe 70%, but you still get a quarter to a half inch of ice even when you do that. So let's take a look at the eastern U.S. in general, and I know I'm not as zoned in on the Ohio Valley as I normally am, but stick with me here. As we're going through in time, we're getting through this first system, which will be all snow, a wintry mess for areas of Wisconsin. I really think areas maybe Minneapolis could get a nice snowstorm from this, but if this continues to trend south in general, then obviously y'all will be out the axis of heavier snow. But you notice Chicago with this first system, as we're getting into, this is around Tuesday afternoon. Low pressure is not favorable, definitely, for any kind of frozen precipitation in Chicago. You're mainly rain for this. So, but look at the ice just to your north. That is some nasty ice showing up for Wisconsin. Y'all normally don't get any kind of big time ice storms in Wisconsin, but this could be a nasty ice storm for you folks, especially northern Wisconsin. And then maybe some ice showing up in Michigan. This system moves through. It's almost all rain for almost the entire Northeast. This moves on through. It's even trended to more rain for areas of northern Maine. This is just all rain, so Arctic boundary, you see this blue line, that 540 line, it continues to sag south. That's the freezing line, not freezing necessarily at the surface, but aloft. This continues to sag south, and then as it does, the Arctic boundary sags south, so the low pressures can ride a little bit further south. So it brings more frozen precipitation for areas south. Now, the European, you bring this, the first wave kind of moves through, it fizzles out, but not before delivering some snow for areas of Illinois, getting into Indiana. Then it begins to fizzle out, but maybe a little bit of freezing rain as you're getting into Thursday morning for northern Kentucky, southern Illinois, and Indiana, maybe Ohio also. Begins to fizzle out, but maybe a little freezing rain for the tail of West Virginia, the northern areas of Virginia. Then it moves on out. Then the big system comes through. And then this overspreads the Ohio Valley. The European is just further north in general. With this system than the GFS is, but bring some snow into Chicago as we're getting into our Thursday evening, and then we're getting into overnight Thursday into Friday, ice breaking out over Pennsylvania, as we're getting into the middle of the night, Thursday into Friday. And then we're getting into our Friday morning and a substantial ice storm showing up from the Euro from this system. I'm talking about nasty ice just north of New York City, most of Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey, and it starts off as heavy snow, a big thumping of snow for Boston. I think this could be a big storm for Boston. I think there's a lot of potential, even just for the New England area in general. This moves through, stays all snow in Boston with the system, and then it moves on out. You compare this with the GFS, there's some differences here. First system moves through. It's colder in general with the first system. It actually has ice all the way into Vermont and New Hampshire, and then it sticks with the first system being the majority of it frozen precipitation for Maine, turns to rain eventually. But then as we're getting into Wednesday morning and then getting into Thursday morning, early Thursday morning, we'll stop it here. Here it comes. Here's that wintry mess moving in of sleet, freeze, and rain. And then just the system is more broad and more amplified in general. This looks like a substantial winter storm for the Ohio Valley as you're getting into Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening, freezing rain in the southern sections of the Ohio Valley, including southern Ohio, southern Indiana, and then an access of heavy snow that may include areas like Columbus, areas like Indianapolis, and then how far north does it get into areas like Cleveland? But if you're looking at the GFS, this would whiff areas like Chicago and just give y'all maybe a period of some light snow on the back end of this. But as we're going forward here, we're getting into overnight Thursday into Friday of this coming week. You're pulling for this if you're in Pennsylvania because one, if you're a winter weather fan, one, you're getting more snow. Two, you're getting less ice. So it shows a substantial winter storm for areas like Pittsburgh. It's getting close to Buffalo. It brings all snow into New York City, and then you're getting into kind of into Philadelphia, into Baltimore, heck, almost all the way into Washington, D.C. You turn into a wintry mess of sleet, freezing rain, and snow. But then we're getting into Friday morning. This is heavy snow moving into New York City, and then it's just starting to work its way into Boston. And then you have that freezing rain just south of this boundary here. And then, you got Philadelphia, Baltimore, heck, almost all the way into Washington, D.C., Maryland, just in general, especially the northern half, not really including the Delmarva. The Delmarva would stay mainly rain unless you're in the northern areas of Delaware and the northern areas of Maryland. Be nasty freezing rain for these areas, but it stays all frozen for areas like Boston for 24 hours, maybe even longer, and it's substantial winter storms showing up for you guys. It really is. You look at the snowfall totals from the European, and, half a foot of snow showing up for Boston. A lot of snow in general for the interior Northeast. Not as much down here. And but this is the European, not the GFS. The GFS shows even more, and I'll show you that here in a second. But this is what the snowfall totals are showing up. Not much in the way of snow in the Ohio Valley. Nothing that y'all, aren't used to. Freezing rain, though. Like I said, nasty ice showing up into southern New England, into New York City, Pennsylvania. This will be a nasty ice storm for you folks. Even a little bit of ice showing up for northern Virginia. Remember, cut these totals at least by half. And then look at that ice showing up here with that first round as the boundaries continue to sag south. That is a lot of nasty ice showing up for this region. But a lot of ice showing up for southern Missouri. And then there's going to be a ribbon of ice that shows up for the Ohio Valley, especially southern sections of Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. I really think now, how much in the way of ice? Not sure, but there's definitely ice here. So we need to be careful in these regions. I don't think that I had the GFS pulled up as far as snowfall accumulation. So let me go on and do that really quick while I'm talking. But as far as how much snow showing up for the GFS, a lot more, right? Really hits areas like Pennsylvania really hard. There's a ribbon of heavy snow that plows right through central Ohio with several inches of snow. And even Indiana, south central Indiana, a lot of snow showing up, and then even southern areas of Illinois. But you get into the Northeast, and this would be a big winter storm, maybe over a foot snowfall totals for areas of Boston, New York City, Long Island. So if you want snow and you're in these regions, you're definitely pulling for this. You look at the freezing rain for these areas, and some nasty ice totals are showing up a little further south. Getting into Kentucky, the northwest counties of Tennessee, which are always the most favorable for winter weather. The Quad States areas gets hit really hard. And then you're getting into northern areas of the mid-Atlantic with some nasty ice. So I know you're looking at this saying, well, this is weird. This is the first system. The first system before the cold air really gets entrenched into the system, the first system, the axis of winter weather, is further north. So going through in time here, you got the ice setting up to the south with the second and third system. So someone in here could get an ice storm, but we're still trying to work out the details. I think ice is inevitable here. But with these overrunning systems, overrunning setups that happen, you get what you call, like I said, overrunning. And you have shallow Arctic air. So you have a warm nose. So you have warm air aloft that gets kind of gets entrenched into the atmosphere just above the surface. So therefore, like I said, the snow, sleet falls, melts in the rain at the surface is below 32 degrees. So everything freezes on contact, even though it looks like rain. So a couple things we're checking out here. I'm going to freeze this this would be around Thursday evening. This is what the storm looks like at the GFS. This is around the same time frame, maybe a few hours beforehand. So you look at this, then you look at that. If you're looking at it just by the naked eye, what's the big differences you see? Well, this is the GFS. Winter weather is just flat out more south. That's one difference you see. And then another is just the intensity on the GFS of the moisture looks a little bit more high end. So you keep this going through here in time. One thing you mentioned here is you back it up a little bit more, and then you back the GFS up here. The timing of it is a little different too. On the Euro, you have this kind of broken up into two waves. On the GFS, it really kind of combines both waves of winter weather. It really does. There's not really a break like in the European. So there's a difference there. So we have to figure out what's going on. As we move this further in time, we look at the northeast, and this is for your Friday morning. We'll keep going through this in time and speed up here. This is the Euro for the Friday morning too, but just a couple hours ahead. You notice there's more ice further north as the GFS is more snowy further south. So it just basically tells us that this is a colder storm. Low pressure track is a little further south. So that's the big differences for the northeast. The GFS is much more snowier, much more wintry in general, has ice a little bit further south, as opposed to the European has ice further north, would bring areas like just areas much further north into the ice. New York City and Boston would be more so all snow for the GFS, as opposed to the European for your late week system. It would be more so ice, maybe a little sleet and snow. So we look at the flooding threat with this too, and we need to mention this also. There's going to be a lot of rain. This is just through Wednesday morning. This coming Wednesday morning. This isn't even the entirety of these storm systems in general. You got several inches of snow showing up in Kentucky and Tennessee. I'm really worried about these two states, and even the Quad States region. You got to watch out there too. But a few inches of a few inches of rain expected in this area. So flooding is going to be a concern. You'll hear a lot about it. So big system, guys. There's a lot to talk about, a lot to track. Almost a 25-minute video, but I'm trying to keep you guys updated. Thank you all for tuning in. Y'all have a great day, and I will talk to y'all this evening.